And we're recording right now. We'll get started right now. Welcome to our second summer series event with the fantastic, incredible Sheryl Wilcox, who will be talking to us today about enhancing program climate and culture. Specifically, she'll be expanding on the strategies she discussed at the summit on listening and empathy. And if it's okay if you weren't there for that, she'll be going over them in depth and making it accessible to everyone who's here today. We have a quick pre-survey that's in the chat. That's part of our grant evaluation. It's just one question. There'll also be a post-survey at the end, so make sure to stick around and do that. Very quick. We value your feedback, and it's part of that grant evaluation. There's also a link for the presentation in the chat. It's on a Padlet. So I'm sure Sheryl will be sharing her screen, but if you'd want to follow on the web, sometimes that's easier. But let us know if everyone's here. Can you give a thumbs up if you can hear us? If you have anything, just let us know right now because we'll get started right now. All right, I see a lot of thumbs up. Good.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris.
Right.
That was a very kind introduction for a Friday. Thank you. I'm kind of going to be shutting my camera off just because I think it only wants to do one or the other right now. So just wanted to let you know, but I just shared my screen. You do have the link for the Padlet. It has everything we worked on at the summit. So if you weren't there now, you have access to all of those groovy resources and PowerPoints and different information that we did cover. We're going to be working on building natural listening moments. So last year we worked on empathetic listening, which is something right out of Stanford University, the idea of how do you listen to get to that root cause rather than just projecting what my experience is, what I already know, and what I think is going to happen. A lot of times we don't take the time to listen truly, and that's not our fault. We were not taught how to listen. So nobody's ever taught how to explicitly listen. So I'm going to go over those stages again, and we're really going to dive into those. And then I created an infographic for you that you're able to print out and hopefully have with you in your offices or wherever those safe spaces are where you want to practice your listening moments. So now we're going to narrow different than what I was assuming, because I think I'm listening to the same thing. We're going to dig deep into that as we go into these stages with your infographic. Then from discrimination, you have identification. This is huge. This is where we're constantly identifying the world around us through whether it's naming everything in nouns and naming our emotions, but we're doing all of this through listening. And now we're looking at gestures and facial expressions. We're looking at our environment. And so identification is that building of vocabulary. When you think about people who are second language learners, that identification stage is huge for them. That's what they are probably working with and working on constantly. They're looking at any context cues around them. What is everybody else doing? What does this mean? Do I know at least two of the words that they said so I can try to make sense of this conversation or information? So that identification stage is all about the vocabulary. And what's important about that is when we understand the words people are using, we understand the direction they're wanting to go in, we're understanding the idea or concept that they're trying to relate to us. So that identification stage is not just building regular vocabulary, like this is a chair and that's a dog, but this is also, this is important and immediate attention is needed now. So I'm identifying the concepts in this need, or I'm also identifying what's not needed. So there's a lot of extra information that wasn't needed. We do have those friends that'll carry on and give us lots of details, and we realize they didn't say much, right? And so it's that identification stage that takes us through the vocabulary and the concepts for us to land on and realize, wow, this is what I'm trying to gain from this. This is the information that I truly need. And again, we're going to really deep dive into that. And then we have our final stage, that we go through, and that's comprehension. And that's when we're truly understanding what we're listening to. We can apply it to our life. We can generalize it. We can move it from working memory to long-term memory. We own a piece of it now. We take it and make it our own, right? So this is what we wish everybody was on constantly. And we know just in our own lives and even with ourselves, if we're super self-reflective and honest, comprehension is probably the last thing we're doing with our listening. This is when miscommunication occurs. This is when we assume things and we take off in a different direction. This is where we can also take a conversation in the wrong direction when we don't wait to listen. We think we're comprehending what's being said by maybe the first part of the sentence or information or situation. Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. So I'm going to push you through in this direction. I'm going to give you an idea, a strategy, a problem-solving method, a method that we use here all the time when it comes to this situation. And we don't really fully comprehend the whole story, everything that's needed, because we're not going back and prompting for more information. We're not diving into those other stages of listening to truly understand. Maybe this isn't the same situation as everybody else or myself. So that assumption stage is really hard and comprehension stops. We're really not understanding. So we need all those other stages, especially discrimination. Is this important to the situation? Should I be understanding it? And then, of course, the identification. Am I really understanding the words they're using and what they mean by it? And so that impact is huge with comprehension. When we stop the story, we're impacting it in a negative way. We take it somewhere else. And so I'm going to give you in the infographic a lot of ways to prompt for more information and to stop yourself from, taking the journey or the message somewhere else. Because much as we don't mean to do that, we're just sometimes in a rush, or we feel like we've heard this story before and we're ready to just solve it. And the best thing we can do for the people in our teams and the ones around us is give them the opportunity to problem solve on their own. And sometimes it just takes a few more minutes of listening for them to work through a situation. So that kind of gives you a little brief on those stages of listening. I've given you in this Padlet the PowerPoint that comes with this, and also the resource. So you can really dive into this if you're wanting to later on. So now we're going to get to the infographic. And as I pull this up, at this time, what I would love is for somebody to either unmute or chat something about those stages that lands on you now. What is it? What are your thoughts? What are you connecting to? So that I can make sure you're in that listening mode right now. May not be for comprehension, but what are you choosing that made sense to you? Or what vocabulary in this makes sense and impacts you at this time? So if you could start chatting that, or if anybody wants to share, and I can put it right back on those listening stages so you have a visual as well. But in the listening you just did, what landed on you? I love that, Joanne. So I think it's important to remind parents of these stages. Yes, listening doesn't just happen, right? Just because they can hear. Thank you for sharing. Let's see, Crystal, we should be sure that we set an example of what we expect others to do. Absolutely, it does start with us. Tangela, I'm reminded to determine if I am listening with. That's so important. A lot of times we build plans for people for them. We're like, here you go. This is what I always do and it works. And we forget we need to actually work with people. We learn so much more about experiences and situations when we take a step back and we build that problem-solving moment with them. That takes a lot of listening and patience. Amanda. I tell families frequently that it is one thing to hear what someone is saying versus actually listening to them. Absolutely. Amen, Amanda. That's so true. You have the ability to hear, you're just stuck on that detection stage. You're just looking towards them and hearing the words. It doesn't mean that you're making a connection to them. Really important. I appreciate the sharing. Thank you. That helps me determine that you're listening. So here's your infographic. When you click on it, you're going to be able to gain, it's 2 pages. And when you print it, you can print it. I'm going to recommend that you print it front and back. And let me see if I can get this a little smaller. No, okay. So let me grab it. I'm going to stop share for a minute and grab it at a smaller angle so we can go through it. And that's what I love about it. So you can print it front and back, and that way you have it available. And I would do like a smaller size where you could have it at your desk or where you sit the most. And then that way it's constantly with you, and you have that ability to go back to those stages and say, okay, wait a minute. Where are we at right now? Trying to have this one listening moment naturally. All right, so on the first one, you have your very first stage, detection. And so here are 2 ways to reflect. The first part of this, the am I, that's going to be your self-reflection. So checking yourself. Am I focused on the person in front of me or just looking at them? Catch yourself in that daydream stage. Catch yourself, checking your grocery list. Catch yourself in that moment where you're just kind of looking towards them like, oh, wait a minute, I think I missed some information. I think I'm just looking at them. And then what's important as well is that person ready to focus on the conversation. Do they seem distracted by their phone or another situation or what's on their mind that they're having a difficult time relaying and communicating? You can tell when someone is zoning out and not focused on you. So it's nice to stay at this stage and recognize it. And instead of reprimanding or being upset about it, because this is the stage that gets most of us in trouble. I knew you weren't listening. You're not focused. You're not listening to me, right? It's doing something better than that and taking it a step further. So we're going to have some detection prompts that'll be on the back of this. We're going to go to in just a minute. And that'll kind of help us bring everybody back to focusing on the fact that we really are listening. We have to move between these stages more fluidly and also with a lot of grace. And grace meaning forgiveness, that we're back to this detection stage. It's so easy to do. Even right now, not having you in front of me where I can power walk around you, get close to you, make eye contact, check your eyebrows, which I love to do. I have no anything in front of me physically that tells me you're zoning in or zoning out, right? So I have to leave it to you to have that moment. Am I really focused on what Cheryl's saying, or am I zoning out? Am I just looking at the screen or doing something else? And so when we stay on this stage and we acknowledge it, the impact is we get to build increased attention more naturally. In that moment, we build that. Me just saying to you, I can't check you, tells you like, I think I should check myself for her, right? And in that moment, I just gained your attention because I brought it to your attention, and in a realistic, supernatural way right now, instead of you're not listening. That tells me nothing. That tells me nothing on how to gain listening again. Now I feel shamed, right? That I wasn't listening to you. So what we need in this stage, because this is the stage we land on the most, because we have so much on our mind, so many distractions, so many small devices, within an arm length, if not already in our hand. We get out of the moment of truly getting to comprehension, or even just discriminating what's important, and we end up landing in this detection stage so much more often, right? So that increased attention, you want increased attention, bring in that awareness, so that we can then go to the next impact, which is focusing skills. We want to make sure they're in use. We want to utilize our focusing skills. It takes a lot of energy, but these are quick listening moments. We need that energy in that moment. And we need the person that we're trying to have this in-depth conversation with to be in the moment as well. So we want to increase those focusing skills and be very transparent about it. Hey, right now I can tell you're thinking of something else. That's okay. We do that. Let's bring it back. Let's increase our attention. And what I would love to see is a little more focused right now. And I'm going to do my best on my part to keep us both focused. And then relating to what we're saying. Now I can make a connection rather than a connection to my previous experiences. We're adults. We have tons of prior knowledge, if not too much sometimes, right? And in this detection stage, a lot of times we may not be going to our grocery list. They might start talking about a situation and we immediately go back to our own experience in that situation. Now we're at detection again. We're just looking at them and we're reliving that moment for ourselves. And we're going to our prior knowledge. That's a connection, but it's not the right connection. So what we want to do is have a better connection with what they're saying. We want to relate to it. So that's that with. Now I'm with you, right? I get it. Really, really important. All right. And then as we're moving forward, I'm going to do a quick check. So if you guys could just chat, what's one thing on the impact side that is meaningful to you right now? So if you don't mind chatting that or saying it out. Just want to make sure, did I lose you guys or are we still? Okay, there we go. I'm going to get to the chat. I'll come back to sharing in just a minute. Relating to what they say, that's a great impact to have. Actually listening and paying attention to our own cues. Very good. Learning more about our own self-reflection and listening helps us have more empathy for the person trying to listen to us. Trying to understand what they want me to understand. Exactly. That's that with part, relating to what they are saying, making connections to what the parent feels is important in their services. That's huge. That trust building happens right there. When we lose our detection or we get into detection stage and we're just focused on our own experiences, we lose that trust. Let's see, being mindful of setting other things aside. Yeah, too easy to get distracted. Relating to what they're saying, really understanding. This is awesome. Great. So you can see the impact on just that very first stage and being aware, focusing on what's being said, relating. Very good. All right. So I'm going to go back to screen share. And let's go. We're going to, I don't want to make you dizzy. Just going to get to the back. Now what we have are detection prompts. These are things we can do for ourselves and the person in front of us. So the top 3 are for you. The bottom 3 are for the person you're communicating with. And so you have, am I present? Am I focused on the actual words? Can I step away from what I am doing right now to listen? If I really want this listening moment to be impactful, I have to make the choice. I can't multitask in that moment, especially if this is a quick listening moment and I really need to gain that trust. And then for the person in front of us, can you repeat that? Did you say? And then give whatever it is you thought they said, so they know at least you're trying to acknowledge, and we're being very transparent about, you know what, I think I lost what you were saying. So can you, did you say this? Are you ready to share? That brings that focusing back in line with both of us. Are you ready to share? Body language and facial expressions. You know how I feel about this. This is huge, is what I'm missing right now, right? Facing towards the speaker. Open posture to encourage speaking. We talk about this in listening constantly. Everything out there, and I've given you resources on so many different listening ways, right? Everybody's created this, and obviously we know why, because listening is so hard. So we want to make sure that we have that open posture, but it means different things to different people. Culturally, it could look a little different as well. So being aware of that. What does it mean to have an open posture? So at this time, if you could chat some things, what are some things that are meaningful to you? How do you know body language somebody has an open posture? Because we're going to utilize that body language throughout the rest of the stages. That's huge. That builds trust, but in different ways for different people. Are there some differences for you when I talk about an open body posture to encourage speaking? What do you think that looks and feels like for you? Standing, sitting, facing, okay, face to face, very good. I know that I have to see someone to hear them. I get so much yes. Like right now I'm dying because I can't see you, Joanne. Let's see, eye contact, giving good eye contact. Yeah, arms not crossed. That's a good one, Jackie. That does happen. Sometimes we get comfortable with our arms crossed. We don't mean anything by it, but some people take it as a signal that you're not liking what they're saying. Facial gestures like holding your breath. Oh, I love that. That does happen. Unfolded arms. Yes. So there we go again. It's that body, right? That body image, you know, I'm listening, I'm open to what you're saying. Person's expression looks open. I love that. So we have those natural eyebrows. You guys know how I feel about eyebrows, to reduce nerves, right? We don't mean to be judgy with our eyebrows, but that seems to be the first thing that responds, sometimes faster than our brain, right? So checking ourselves, you know, am I keeping a neutral face so that that person doesn't, you know, read into that. We're reading into people's facial expressions and body language quicker than we are the words they're about to say or the words that we're using. Smile or positive facial expression. Some people, personalities, cultures require that smile. Some don't appreciate it. So knowing the people that you're working with, knowing who it is you're going to have this listening moment with, what do they like your smile? Is it encouraging to them, or do they think you're making fun of them? Right. So there's a lot of understanding. That's why that width is so important. It's not a generic way of having an open body posture for everybody. Not everybody relates to us the same. We have likes and dislikes with people, right? When we're trying to see if they're listening to us, what matters to us. When we're self-reflective, even having in team meetings, a quick, hey, let's check on everybody's body and facial language, what matters to you. It gives you ideas about their communication style. That's huge, especially in those quick listening moments. Eyebrows are the hardest to control for me. I know, Joanna, that's what gets everybody. I hear you. I love that, Amanda. Yes, nodding, just giving a good nod makes somebody feel like, okay, good. You're encouraging me to continue. So I'm going to flip back up and we're going to go on to the next stage. All right, discrimination. So here's that stage. Is this important to me? I'm determining the differences in what I'm hearing and the similarities. And that's when we're starting to bring in our prior knowledge, but we just need to be cautious with that. Is this important? And is this important to the person that's relaying it to me? Are they just the tip of the iceberg? Are they just barely going to start to confess what they need to, or give me the information that I need? Am I going to have to hold on a little longer? So is this important to the topic and situation? Here's another thing about discrimination, that stage. It's deciding, have we both or one of us gone completely off topic? How many of you have been in a serious conversation or a conversation where you're needing more information, and maybe the person or even yourself is kind of avoiding the topic? You know, it can be a little difficult, a little scary, where maybe a family member is still rejecting whatever identification's happening. You know, we have a lot of situations that can cause us to go off topic, right? So we don't have to hang in there or focus on what's difficult or scary. So is this important to the topic and situation? That's for me, that's my self-reflection. Am I listening to something that matters to this quick listening moment or this moment that's naturally happening? And then here for the person, does this person need prompts to get back on topic? And then of course, on the back of this infographic, which we'll go to right now, we'll discuss some of those prompts. So really important. Sometimes we need that. We get off topic for lots of different reasons. When we're with our friends or our family, we naturally get off topics because one thing leads to another. I don't know how many of you love the book When You Give a Mouse a Cookie, but those things do happen in conversation as well. Or some people relate it to a train effect. You feel like you're on a train and it's one card after another. And you're like, how did we started talking about breakfast and next thing you know, we're talking about horror movies. Like, how did that happen? So that's natural in conversation and topics and socializing. But when we're having a listening moment and we need to get to the root cause, the need or the situation for problem solving skills, we need to make sure that we're both on topic. Let's get back. And the impact of this is going to be assist with making connections to what is important for whatever decision needs to be made, whatever the plan is moving forward. What are those next steps? They're going to relay and rely on what topic and situation you're talking about and that you've both stayed on it. So any ideas that are happening needs to happen on that topic. So let's chat a little bit about that discrimination stage. What stands out to you? What are you taking from this? And what would be new and different that you can start to engage in and incorporate in your own listening skills? Oh, thanks for your honesty, Joanne. Yes, I know I am a rabbit hole kind of person. So easy for me to get off track. I have to be so mindful when I am training staff or talking to families. Oh, Crystal's like, same here. I hear you. Yes, this is our discrimination stage at listening. This is when we're deciding, is this important? Is this the topic that we started with? This is when you're deciding, is this similar to what we started with? Are we still on the topic of breakfast, right? How do we move all the way to horror films? So we got to make sure that we're being mindful of this, right? So I love that. Let's go down to that second page. So I'm going to scroll down and we're going to go into those discrimination prompts. So is this important to what I need in this situation? Ooh, that's huge. If you're planning with somebody, that need is going to be much broader than your experiences you're pushing in. In other words, if you have prior experience and you want to quickly put a Band-Aid on this situation or your go-to problem-solving strategy for this particular situation, like, oh, this is what I always say to parents. This is what I always say to my staff. Then we know we're not reaching that true need. What is important? What do I really need for this particular situation? It's going to cause me to stay on this discrimination stage a little longer, which is a good thing. I'm going to make choices. That's important in my listening instead of landing on one concept or idea based on my original thoughts, right? So now let's see. Oh yeah, a lot of people rabbit holes. Funny, we all choose to attend and listen. I know, a listening webinar. I love it. So you guys are going to gain some skills in this just in your personal lives. I love it. People are going to be excited that you stay on topic a little longer. So is this on topic? Is this relevant? And if I'm staying with this discrimination stage and truly making choices, then I'm really working with this person. And I'm preventing myself from going down that rabbit hole and preventing myself from pushing in my own stories and all that groovy, powerful prior knowledge that I come with. We come with so many experiences. And some of us do leave going, I told you so, I knew that was going to happen. And that's fine, but that doesn't help the person who's in the situation to begin with. It's okay if we know something, but that's not our journey if this is a listening moment for somebody else. It's their journey to get to their own problem solving, right? So this discrimination stage is huge for that part of problem solving. So now for the person, you're going to say, is this part of, and then whatever that topic was. If you find that they're going and veering off somewhere and maybe avoiding the topic now, or scared to admit something that's going on, vulnerability is huge in these listening moments. These, again, these listening moments that I'm referring to, they're those situations that hopefully will gain that trust that's needed with our department, our staff, our families, and ourselves. That's the relevance of this. And so is this part of whatever that original topic was? Can you tell me more about, ooh, that's going to prevent me from pushing in my ideas, my experiences. Can you tell me more about, let me tell you, that acknowledgement increases, that trust goes up. Wow, you were really listening. Now you want to know more about it? That's amazing. Usually people skate right through and give me what they normally do, right? Let's get back to, because I'm sure there's more to share, opening it up for them. Let's get back to whatever that topic is, because I'm sure there's more to share. That is such a relief to some people. It seems simple, but it's huge. For our staff that feels like they're not being acknowledged or listened to, and for our families that need us in those moments, right? Just bringing it back on topic. And let's see, I have something in the chat. I agree, and working hard to be intentional listening with the list of to-do tasks going through my head. I love that. Yeah, very good. Thank you, Tangela. So here's your body language and facial expression you're looking for and hopefully showcasing. Utilize hand gestures to keep the topic continuing. And I don't mean like the referee one, like let's roll through this, like not the quick hand gesture, right? But more so like, wow, like opening your hands up, like that's interesting, or tell me more. Giving more slow motion hand gestures allows that person to know you're present and in the moment, rather than those quick, hurry this up, right? And so think about, what are my hands doing right now while I'm listening? And am I encouraging it in that slow motion, like we're all very present? I'm discriminating right now that this is a choice to sit and listen more on this topic. Keep inquisitive look with eyebrows and facial expression. So now we go from neutral to interested to pushing them together and saying, that's interesting. I never thought of that. What else can you tell me more? Tell me more about this. What else can you tell me about this? Lean towards the speaker if the topic changes to signal we are off track. Lots of, proximity helps in these situations, coming towards them so they realize, oh, wait a minute, that's not what we were talking about. Lots of things you could do. So I usually try to say, so you told me, so to reflect and make sure I understand before I move on to the point I want to make or information I want to give. That's awesome, Joanne. Yeah, that stops you and the person. And so you both realize you're being very reflective in that moment. I love that. Thank you for sharing. So at this time, what stands out to you with these prompts or body language and facial expressions? What are you taking from this? What'll be new and different for you as you move forward in these listening moments? So I'll give you guys a few minutes to chat that. All right. Okay, so we have Crystal using let's get back to and or let's see. So you told me keeps us accountable for demonstrating the listening skills. Yeah, those are small changes that are going to impact the person and yourself in those moments. Actual prompts to use while in the situation is helpful. I'm glad. Thank you so much. Good. Okay. I say, let me understand. You are saying, very good. Let me understand. I want to understand you. I have an idea of what I went through, but let me understand what you're going through. I love that. Thank you for sharing. All right, we're going to get to that third stage now. Identification. Do I have a better understanding of the topic and situation? Here's that vocabulary needed. And when I say vocabulary, I don't mean just a few words. I'm talking about the concept, the general topic. What is it they're trying to get to? This is probably the most difficult stage. It's not comprehension. It's understanding what people are saying, understanding the words they're trying to use, understanding their perception of what's happening. It's huge. A lot of times, we bring in that prior knowledge, and I say that a lot because that's usually what adults do. We always bring in our prior knowledge, which is awesome. We have experiences. They came to us for that. But if we want to build that trust and better problem solvers and more independence with the people we're trying to service and work with, then we need to understand what their perception is, what's their perspective. And doing that, we have to understand how they're using these concepts and words. Like, what do they mean by this? So do I have a better understanding of that? And for them, does this person need to define these ideas or concepts more for me? And it goes back to that, tell me more, but maybe even more detailed. When you say, this happens all the time, can you give me more of a percentage, or, what time of day this is always happening? Because, and in your head, keeping together the thought, nothing happens always, right? That's impossible. So people feel overwhelmed and frustrated when they look at a situation and they feel that it's always happening. And so understanding that perspective is great, but now we need to define it. We need to really get into what it is they're trying to really tell us. That's that with part, because it comes from them. Can you give me a little percentage on how often this is happening? Or can you give me some times? Can you count or tally? Give me some of that information, that measurable information, that observable information that's going to truly make me understand the situation. So that impact is gaining more understanding, having an ability to identify those key concepts. Now I can take this, and instead of going down the rabbit hole, instead of, opening up, what I need from this, I'm going to really gain an understanding of their key concepts. And now I can help problem solve. Now I can give information. I'm able to define the need. That's huge. A lot of times we feel we're having the same conversations with certain families or people, the people we're working with and for, and we find like, wow, we were constantly having to hit up this topic. We're always on this. I feel like I've been telling them. Have you ever had a situation where you say something, somebody else comes in and says exactly what you said, and they're like, oh yeah, I get it. And you're like, really? That's what I've been saying. So those listening, that defining that need, that's what happens in those moments. Some people define it a little differently. And so understanding people's needs, that's huge. That's this identification stage. This is very vital. So understanding, that's what we need to do. You can ask, what does that mean to you? Love that. Yes. That helps with those prior knowledge. Yes. I love that, with your past knowledge. Very good. This is awesome. Tell me about some times when you don't see this happen. There we go. Now we start removing the always. Places, times, a day with others. This is how people feel once they're frustrated by something, that it's occurring all the time, right? I love that. Tell me when it's not happening. That's huge. You'll see their eyebrows raised. Like, what do you mean? It's always happening though. But that's a great way to bring it back, where now they can truly define the concept and what they're truly talking about. That's the identification stage of listening. So here's your prompts. What exactly do I need to do with this information? What do I need with this information? If I'm going to help with this person and get them going with more independence, more problem solving skills, a sense of calm, relief, they can move forward, and now we can move on to something else. What is it that I need, right? What am I going to be doing with this? What is confusing to me? And that makes me curious. Super important, again, with our ability to listen. It's it's vital that we're confused, because that means that we're interested, we're curious, we're not sure. That's a good thing. That means that we're really, listening to them and their journey. Like, I wonder what that means. I wonder why they're saying this, instead of frustrated, like, oh, they would just listen to me. If they would have just done what I said to begin with. And that's not what's happening. They're telling you, I'm on my own journey with this, right? I need you to understand where I'm coming from. So making sure that it's okay to be confused, but is it because I'm going to lead to curiosity? I'm going to be curious about this. And so then we go into all those prompts and the ones that you also shared in the chat. Thank you. When you said, did you mean, tell me more about, how does this impact, what happened before? When is this not happening? I love that. The more prompts we have, the more questions we ask, the more we can really deep dive and stay on topic and identify and define what this listening moment is supposed to do for us. Here's our body language and facial expression. We have that open body posture. We're going to increase encouragement to elaborate. So we go back to that open body posture that we reflected on earlier and think, is this going to encourage somebody to give me more information? Or do they feel like I already have it figured out? or they don't know how to define it, right? Because they're so concerned with your closed body language. Wow, I don't think I'm making sense to this person. I don't think they understand what I need. This happens all the time when you're training and talking to staff. You'll see people going, nope, I don't agree with that. And it's the give up time, right? Where they just, shoulders go down or up and they're like, whatever, like that's the way you want it, but I'm not encouraged by this. And that prevents you from elaborating. You're like, well, okay, they're not buying into this, right? That's how people feel in that moment when we're also trying to encourage them to take our advice or problem solving skills or, moving forward with whatever strategy we're giving them. Same thing. So it goes back and forth. So thinking about those moments, kind of reflect in the chat, what are some things for you that discourages you from opening up or elaborating or giving more information? What discourages you when it comes to that body language? The deep sighs. Thank you, Tangela. Oh, those kill me. When the parent gets up and walks into the kitchen or looks at their phone. Yes, like I'm done, signaling you off on the phone texting. Yeah, Marisol, that happens. Yes. Darting eye contact, looking at the phone. Yeah, like thank you, Kara. I'm done. I am checking out. So you might not want to elaborate. You might not want to continue this conversation. So thinking about, have I done that in moments? Responds with something that doesn't relate. Now we go right back to detection. Very good, Crystal. Right back to detection. They weren't listening at all. They were somewhere else. They checked out. So think about the moments as you're being self-reflective of what, can impact you on wanting to have a conversation or continue a topic or realizing you've been shut down. What are some things that you might do? And you don't realize it because you are busy. You are out of the moment now. You're over it. You're like, I've already had this conversation. What do I need to do? If I'm having to have the same conversation with certain people about the same thing, then I'm not deep diving into it. I haven't met the root cause. I don't know what the need is. And so what can I do? Issue becomes about what you are not doing. Yeah, it's exactly right, Beverly. Very good. And when they are not present, right? And think about it. So now what I want you to do is reflect on times that you have signaled that to other people. Let's be super honest. This is our vulnerability moment. You know how I am. I'm gonna push you right out of it and push you right into those vulnerable moments. What are some things you feel you do with your staff, with your families? Not personally, because that may be necessary, right? Might be some people in our lives that we need to shut down. But what I'm talking about is work-wise. What's going to cause you to gain more trust if you could decrease this that you do? What is something you do that causes people to know you're done? Thank you, Joanne. I go silent, just stop verbally responding in meetings. Wow. Marisol, tone of voice. There you go. That's a big clue. Wandering eye contact. See, Tangela, I am emotionally shut down, looking but not saying anything. Wow, silence, radio silence. Crystal, avoid responding. There we go, silence. Adriana, change the subject. Very good. Kira, if I can't give my full attention, at first I have to ask staff to repeat the beginning when I get lost. Oh, okay. Very good. Anisha, more silent. I'm usually a talker. Ooh, then they'll know something's different is going on with Anisha. Amanda, just watching and taking in, but no response. Yeah, now I'm no longer involved. I am no longer curious. Very good. Change the subject. These are good. Thank you so much for all of your honesty. That's so important. Really, really important. So when we're self-reflective, ooh, Tangela, if I get up and stand by the door, ooh, I am done. Yeah, that's a big signal. That's a clue. That'd be a clue for me. So, you know, simple clues for me, as you guys already know, like it just takes one little tiny movement, your facial expression, and I can tell you're done. So, what's important about that self-reflection? If anybody doesn't mind unmuting, how does it feel to talk about your own ways of signaling you're done? If anybody doesn't mind unmuting, I'd love to hear your voice and not just mine. Find your car key and walk right out. I'm going to stop share real quick and see if anybody's willing to take a risk and unmute. Hopefully I'm able to hear you. No risk takers today.
I'll jump in. I have to go to another meeting.
Oh. Right.
Not always true, but.
Yeah, right. Sometimes it's true, but I appreciate the honesty. Yeah, we can talk about our schedule right away. Not busy. Gotta go. Thank you for sharing. All right, let me go back to screen share. It's okay. We don't have, it's Friday. I understand. It's all good. I wish I had you guys in one room. Okay, so super important. When we smile and have that positive facial expression when asking for clarification, even if we want to stand down from the conversation, we're done, we don't want to be present, we need to make sure that we're self-checking. Is this my journey? Is this purposeful for me? Am I going to end up having to have the same conversation again next week? So am I adding value to this in this listening moment and taking advantage of the time I have with them in front of me? You know, it's not what I understand, it's what they're trying to understand. So two totally different things, right? And that's again with that with, right? So smile and positive facial expression, practicing it in the mirror if we need to, before we get our car keys and walk out. We need that information to be relayed through our out of body. We could say, I'm still listening, okay, I'm trying, but our body language and facial expression is going to say otherwise. So practicing that, role playing it, having somebody we're comfortable with and trust to help us with those because it is hard when we're having to have these listening moments with situations that we feel like we've already solved. And the person is letting us know it has not been solved for them, right? They're still on it. They're still not feeling acknowledged or that they can move forward. And so again, just realizing, in this listening moment, am I impacting them, or, am I taking it out, taking myself out of the situation because I'm done? So we want to stay curious. We want to stay curious. Head nods to show understanding. And somebody mentioned that earlier. So I love that. All right, flowing through. Okay, so here's that last stage that we're rarely on. It's one of the hardest stages, right? And it doesn't always have to be the stage that we land on. We don't always have to understand somebody else's meaning and their whole idea or their whole journey. If we could just get to the root cause of what we can impact, what we can change, what we could add value to, that's what's important. We don't have to understand all of it. And so a lot of times just staying between those identification and discrimination stages, really making a choice to be present during that listening moment, and then also having a true understanding of the topic or the situation, not necessarily the whole person or the whole thing, right? But what is it that what am I going to impact? Why am I listening to this? What am I going to gain from this? So do I now have next step actions from this conversation? Next action steps. So do I have next action steps from this conversation? So if you could just chat for me, what does this mean to you? Next action steps. What does that mean to you? Do I understand what to do next? Talking about what each of us will do next, the plan to the solution of the conversation. I like that you're including both parties. That's huge. We take responsibility for our next action steps as well. You could tell the person what your plan is and ask if it makes sense to them. Ooh, I love that, Joanne, taking it a step further. I'm going to give you some steps, or you've agreed to them, but do you really understand what that's going to look and feel like? Helping or following up. That's huge, Marisol, huge. What was conversed? A lot of times we leave a conversation, we've given them the information we think they need. They walk out and we're like, done. And we're not. The follow-up is everything. That's what solidifies the trust. That's what tells them that you really were present during that listening moment, and that they got you, and you valued what they needed to go through, whatever it is they needed, whatever help that was. That follow-up is everything. And it's what we're doing now with a lot of our professional development. A lot of people are now asking, well, coach me on this after. So great, give me this information, but now work with me, side by side with me, come observe me, or let me see you do it. We need that follow-up to solidify that trust. It helps me because I can give lots of information, but you walking away, even with this infographic, does not mean you're going to use it. Doesn't mean that you're going to have or add value to it. And what matters is that next step. And then who's responsible for what? Discussing what we can do now. That's wonderful, Tangela. Like, what can we do right now? That's huge. That waiting is everything, because you and I both know you walk out and it's as if that conversation never existed, right? So what can we do right now? So we're present right now, and we're already working on empowering through whatever, independence they're seeking, whatever solution they're seeking, or reprieve. And so it's really important that while we're present during this, that we do understand those next steps and what we're doing now. What is something else that's landing on you guys? I think one thing I can say that maybe some of you are thinking about is the timelines, date of actions, when they're due, when, making it so that there's that feeling, okay, next week I'm going to check in. It'll be Wednesday around the same time. Let's follow up with this conversation, or let's, email us, maybe some things that we saw that changed or were different. It's adding that other part of a solution. It brings it all together. I have a timeline. I know now you're going to follow up. Really important. Does this person need to answer some clarifying questions for what is next? So one of you landed on that as well. Are they understanding what their next step is? What is that going to look and feel like? When given instructions to anybody, I always make sure to then ask them, well, what do you think that is going to, exactly are you going to do with that role that I've given you, or that direction, that instruction? What are you doing next? What's going to happen? What is that going to look and feel like? What are your responsibilities? What's the first thing you can do? What's that impact? It's development of plan, action, or next steps. Those are huge. And then identifying an outcome and a resolution, something measurable for later. So both of us can leave going, okay, I feel like I'm getting closer to understanding what to do to get myself out of this, or to gain more independence or a better skill set. So that comprehension stage is very valuable. But again, it doesn't mean that you have to understand all of it. It just means in the solution, in your role, are you comprehending what's coming next? So now we'll move to what'll be on the back end of your infographic, and it's the prompts. Am I still focused on the speaker's topic? Right? Am I still on topic? Something in the chat. At our program, we have tried to get everyone in the habit of texting a strategy to follow through on. Oh, I love that, while we are talking to the parents, so that when we leave, we all have to that to reflect on until we meet again. That's amazing, Joanne. That is amazing. So now everybody's on the same page. We're all going to be focused on the same thing. We're all putting it in the universe together, right? And now we're going to stay on topic throughout all of the problem solving that's going to occur for the next week or two, or however long that timeline is. And we can continue to ask questions on topic when we meet with that family or with that team member again. Remember, we're all looking at this outcome together. We're all talking the same language. We all agree. That's a wonderful check-in, and it makes everybody realize that acknowledgement lasted. It's continuous. That again, that solidifies trust. It's what you do after, right? I love that you sat and listened to me, but then after, it was as if we never talked. So I like that everybody's on the same page. Thanks for sharing that. That's a wonderful strategy. Am I planning ahead with the information given combined with my experience? You have your experience for a reason. I love that. And that's a great thing. As long as you're compartmentalizing it enough where you leave room for this person to go through their journey, right? But am I planning ahead with the information given combined with my experience? You do know better. You are able to help in those situations. You are the service person. You're providing that help and assistance for a reason, and guidance, but at the same time, making sure they're acknowledging their new skill set with this, right? What their new outcome is. Are they celebrating that? How did that make you feel? So that comprehension part, again, staying on topic in that moment with them, finding out how they feel now. How do you see the outcome? What do they want as a goal? What does it mean to them? This is what we're going to see change or develop or decrease the next time we see each other. What would you be able to do moving forward? Wow, now that I have this new skill set, what am I going to do? So if you could just chat with me, what are you going to be able to do moving forward with this infographic or with anything that we've discussed when it comes to listening? If you could give me some ideas, what are you going to be able to do moving forward? And I'm going to give you guys some time, because it really is really important to get this this information back, it helps us also stay on topic of listening. What is this going to mean for you guys moving forward? I feel like I will be able to be more aware. Let's see. I feel like I'm able to be more aware of if I am truly listening or just barely attentive. Yep. This will definitely build accountability personally and for working with. Oh, I'm glad. Thank you, Amanda. Jackie, be mindful of my body language, eye contact, soft expression relating to what is being said. Yeah, check those eyebrows. I'm telling you. I just wrote in my agenda a couple of notes to remember when I meet with my team. Oh, that's good, Adriana. I'm glad. Thank you. Joanne, just seeing this in writing is a great reminder about how important it is. We all need to see this and reflect on it often to make sure we are all really listening. That's how we will serve our families, and ourselves. Focus on being truly present. Thank you. Let's see, going to print and post on my board. Thank you. I'm so excited. In front of me as a reminder. Thank you, Crystal. Send me a picture. Eliminate distractions. Be aware of body language. Create an environment they know it can be trust and open. Yeah, those safe environments starts with you. And just those reminders. Am I in a listening moment right now? Is this vital? Even if I feel like I've heard this story already and I feel like I've already given them everything they need, it's coming out again for a reason. So I need to be present and create that environment for both the person and yourself, for yourself, so you don't feel overloaded. Eliminate distractions, be aware of body language, create an environment they know. It can be trust and open break. Okay, I read that one. Let's see. It is a great reminder for me to be an active listener and to be aware and reflect. I will be using some of the examples of questions to stay on the target conversation to determine if I have heard what the person is attempting to convey to me, being intentional and listening to what others are saying. Thank you, Tangela. That's perfect. Very good. Well, I'm glad this is going to be useful. That body language and facial expression at that comprehension stage, we're going to leave with a plan. We know what our next steps are. This matters to all of us. We're going to be more relaxed. Sometimes we finish things and we're like, all right, you're out of here. And so we have this sense of, okay, I got to move on. Like Beverly was saying, I got another meeting, got to go. Don't pick your keys up yet, right? Stay relaxed until the very end. We need that trust, that safe zone of where this listening moment occurred to continue, and it stays until the end. That's what everybody remembers is the ending, right? How you looked. Nothing, brings it together better than staying true to what you attempted all the way through. And so being sure that they understand you are in it, you're committed and accepted that listening moment. So keep relaxed until they leave. That posture shows your understanding and coming to a close of the conversation in a more natural way. We've been so abrupt with ourselves and each other anymore. So quick to just get up and, we don't do what's needed. Those greetings aren't just at the hello, they're also at the goodbye. And they're so vital. They make people feel acknowledged up until the end. Like, okay, great. So now that we've come up with our next action steps and we understand what we're going to be doing and who's responsible for what, when the follow-up's occurring, I just want to thank you so much for this listening moment. I want to thank you for opening up and sharing this. And if there's nothing else, I hope, the rest of your day is, or whatever it is you usually end with a kind greeting. It's relaxed and it feels good. Like, wow, okay, this closed up really nicely. Smile, that positive facial expression. So I don't know how many of you are willing to admit if anybody has that resting face that people like to talk about and you don't mean to. So being sure in that moment, you just give a little of what's needed for that person. A smile goes a long way. Head nods to show understanding. All right, got you. I'm in your corner. So thanks so much for presenting. Oh, thank you. All right, so we've got the final survey up for you that Chris has shared. I'm going to stop sharing. You have access to the Padlet and everything that came with it. And at this time, I just want to see if anybody has any last thoughts or anything they'd like to share. I definitely want to thank you guys for your listening on a Friday. And I'm very hopeful that this landed and can be helpful in those moments that are needed.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. Folks could give a virtual or turn off your mute, give her a thank you or round of applause as you exit. Thank you so much, Cheryl.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
wonderful long weekend. I hope everybody's planning a long weekend. Right?